Hi, I'm Michelle Garcia. I'm a board member with Magic, and I'm here representing Theresa Zhang, who is a wonderful new mentor we brought on into the program, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, but she did ask me to say a few words about Alexis H, who's coming up to present. But first I have to ask, how many of you have created your own videos before? Anyone created a video? How many would like to improve upon their video making capabilities? Lots of people. Well, I think you're going to be delighted by hearing the next presentation because Theresa has given Alexis so many accolades for her work. She had a real passion around video making, and Theresa is actually a civil engineer, video maker, and a food blogger. And I think their marriage was definitely an excellent one. Alexis came to the meetings with a lot of zeal and interest, and they actually did a lot of industry talk about video making. And Alexis wanted to really improve upon her skills in terms of video making, understand the science behind video making, and learn some new video making software. So without further ado, I'll bring up Alexis to tell you what her project is all about.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm a sophomore at Monte Vista High School. I recently just moved there this year, so it's a fresh new start. And this is also my first time working in the Magic Mentorship program. So unfortunately, my mentor was not able to make it here today, but her name is Theresa Zhang, and she's amazing. She is a journalist and former architect, and she actually combined those two careers and makes vlogs about how to make structures out of food. And she's currently living in the San Francisco Bay Area, but she originally was from Canada. So my project is about the history of cameras, and it's basically just an explanatory video about the history of cameras, how their technology works, and how cameras are used in STEM. I selected this project because I'm really interested in the film industry, but also I wanted to connect my interests with this STEM. So basically it just goes into depth about how cameras were developed and how they're useful. So in my a little bit about my project. So some of the idea behind it, like I said, we wanted to combine my interests with STEM, and then the creative process and the final product were completely different than what you're going to see. So the creative process, we had to come up with a way to make it interesting, but also connect it with how it helps in STEM. And then in the future, I would like to continue working on projects like these and improving my video skills. So some highlights about my magical experience is I really enjoyed working with Theresa and improving my video skills and knowledge. I really liked going out and retrieving footage. That was really fun for me. Setting up interviews, this was the first time I've ever done interviews ever, especially like when creating a video. And also I learned how to use new editing software to create the videos more to my image. Some lessons I learned about new softwares such as Adobe Premiere CC. I was originally using the same one, iMovie, which is great, but Adobe Premiere CC has a lot more functions and allows me to do a lot more than just the very simple iMovie stuff. I also learned how to develop time management skills, which was definitely a struggle for me. And also learned about some new video language, lighting and setup, because a lot more goes into videos than just taking it and then cutting it up. There's all this other complicated stuff. And then organizing an outline for the video goes into time management. It's called a shot list. So basically you write down every single frame, what you want for every single frame. So like from 2 seconds to 4 seconds, I want this shot up close or something like that. Some challenges. I didn't actually have a lot of challenges when creating this project. It was a great experience. The only thing, like I said, was time management was really difficult for me, especially I'm in high school and I was doing this project throughout a bunch of tests, homework, finals. That was kind of difficult to get around, but I was able to do it because Theresa was really good at setting deadlines and making sure that we stayed on track. And also, setting up time frames to shoot with the teachers and the other optometrists that I interviewed because they're very busy, so I had to learn to get in and out before the bell rang or before his next client. So in this video you'll see some of the stuff I learned. So one thing is rule of thirds, and that's basically how you want to set up the framing of the camera. So you don't want some parts, you don't want the person right in the middle because there's too much space on the outside. You want it in a certain way. I can't really explain it. But in camera angling, that kind of plays into it. A-roll and B-roll. So A-roll is, you'll see A-roll is either me or the interviewees are talking. That would be A-roll. And then B-roll is the other footage above us talking. So you'll hear us talking, but you'll be seeing different stuff. And then lower third text box, that is just on the bottom, either left or right hand side of the screen. And that just explains who the person is and what their role is and what they do. And I think that's it. So I'll show you the video. 6 minutes. Wait, do I show?
Hello, I'm Alexis, and if you're watching this, you must be interested in the history of cameras, and you've come to the right place. I'm the perfect person to talk to about this information. As you may know, cameras are used in just about everything now. In fact, they're extremely important in today's society. They're used to capture fun memories with friends or family, and they're extremely important in the STEM world, and they're used in just about every part of STEM, or STEAM, as some like to call it. But can't forget about art. You may be wondering, well, how are they used in STEM, and why are they so important? But before we get into all of that, let's go back and explore the history of cameras and where they came from. Well, I've only recently been learning about cameras, and while I do know quite a bit of information, I'm not an expert. So instead, I decided to interview my photography teacher, Mr. Susi, to get a more in-depth explanation of the history of cameras, who created them, how they were created, and their technology. And also, if you want to learn how to create your own camera, that'll be explained too. You only need a few simple supplies.
You know, cameras that actually, the camera obscura, which is a really simple idea, it goes back 1,000 years. And what the camera obscura was just a box with a hole in it that would project light onto the back of the box. But it wasn't until the early 1800s when they started figuring out that there were certain chemicals that when you expose them to light would darken. And this French inventor named Nepeš started experimenting with camera obscuras and a very simple plate of chemicals that would darken when exposed to light. And he made the first ever camera, and his first image took 8 hours to create an image. It took a really long time. To make your own camera, you would just take a cardboard box of any size or shape. Shoe boxes work really well. And you want to make it dark on the inside, so black it out with paint or something to make it really dark on the inside. You can't have any light coming in from anywhere except for the lens, which is the hole in the box. So to make a lens, you just take a thin piece of metal like aluminum foil or a tin can, cut an opening in the box, tape the tin foil over the opening, and then poke a very tiny hole using a pin into that piece of tin foil. What you have to do from there is then create what's called a shutter. And a shutter just controls the amount of time that the light is coming in to the camera. Essentially, once you have a shutter, you open it for a certain amount of time and expose a photographic paper that you place at the back of the box to light, and then it will create an image. Camera technology has changed a lot. From the early days, pictures were really slow, so you'd have to sit like that for several minutes to take a picture. Over time, they developed things like film and better chemistry, which allowed you to take faster and faster pictures, where people became more commonplace and action shots became more commonplace. In the 20th century, we got color photography.
As time went on, cameras have just become more and more advanced. The technology became faster and the quality became better. Now, back to the original question. How are cameras used in STEM? Well, cameras are heavily relied on in the STEM world, and are especially used in science. In science, they're used to explore Earth and even beyond, in surgeries and documenting the change in diseases over time. We would never have pictures of our ocean's creatures or of the galaxies. Surgeries would be extremely difficult, and most importantly, we would never have those wonderful nature shows with the cute little animals. As well as in science, they're used to look at atoms and germs, most stuff that we can't even see with the naked human eye. For more information on this topic, I decided to interview the local optometrist, Dr. K, on how they use cameras in their field and why they're so important. How would you say cameras have helped in the field of optometry?
They help for both diagnosis, treatment, and for follow-up. Because for digital images, obviously those are much better than you could use or describe on the chart. So it's good for having baseline to move forward. Document change over time, whether they're doing better or doing worse. The technology, the resolution, and what you can do with them, what the software can do for those things, has grown probably exponentially over the last 5 to 10 years.
So moving on in how they're used in STEM, we already covered science. Next is technology, and cameras are technology. In engineering, we attach them to the stuff that we build, such as cars. And in math, well, I use cameras to take pictures of my homework for online tutoring sessions. But overall, most of us can't even imagine our lives without cameras, and we take them for granted. I hope this video helps you understand how important cameras are and why it's important to know their history. Thank you for watching.